Hello, everyone. My name is Sierra, and welcome to my video. Today is my oldest daughter's 10th birthday. That's right, it's been 10 years since I gave birth. 10. Yeah, I feel very, very old today, but I also felt very emotional because a lot of you may not know, but my birth experience was a little bit traumatic. And it actually is what led to me becoming a doula. And after she was born, I suffered a lot of health challenges that caused me to become a health coach because I had to learn how to heal myself, which led me to want to help other people on their journey to healing themselves. But today, I want to talk about 5 things that I wish I had known before giving birth. So here are the top 5 things that I wish I would have known. Number 1, midwives are not doulas. Midwives and doulas are 2 different things. I went into my birth thinking that I was completely knowledgeable about what birth was like. I had done so much research. I had chose a midwife because I did not want to have the experience that I ultimately ended up having. I did not want to get a C-section. I did not want to have to deal with all of the medical interventions, but I ended up needing them. And I think one of the things that I thought was that having a midwife would give me the same experience that having a doula would give me. I didn't even know what a doula was when I went to give birth. It wasn't something that people were talking about. It wasn't something that I had ever seen before. And I went in blindly thinking that my midwife would do all of these things for me. And when she didn't, I was completely hurt. When I went into active labor and I woke up out of my sleep and I felt like my body was, going through all of these things, the contractions were coming more quickly, the pain was more intense. I thought that my midwife would get there to the hospital and that she would be involved, that she would tell me what to do, and that was not the case. She came early in the morning. I was induced the night before. She came early in the morning, and then after that, I didn't see her until it was almost time to push. And for me, that was not the type of experience that I wanted to have. I wanted someone that was going to be right there with me, helping me to manage my pain, trying to tell me different things that I can do or could have done to feel more comfortable during my birth. And I just didn't have that. And now I know it's because I wanted my midwife to be a doula, and that's not her job. And so she did her job, but she was not a doula. And I think that everyone should have a doula if they can, because a doula is the person that's going to be there with you to support you, to advocate for you, to help explain things to you that you may not understand, or at least get the medical professionals to do so. And I was expecting that from my midwife, and I just didn't get it. And because I didn't, um, I did not enjoy my birth experience, and that's okay. Uh, that doesn't mean that everybody's experience will be like mine. But what I do encourage other people do is to have a doula. If you want a midwife, get a midwife. Great. But you need that person that's going to be right there with you, advocating for you, helping you, just being your support system. And that's what a doula is, not a midwife. Unless you have a midwife that was a doula before and maybe that's what they do. But in my case, she didn't do anything. And, the birth just didn't go the way I wanted it to. But number 2, um, is that birth is unpredictable. I went into my birthing experience into my pregnancy thinking that I could have this rigid birth plan and that everything on this birth plan would be done the way that I wanted it to be done. When I was about 8 months pregnant, I took the birth plan to my midwife, and it said, I don't want this stuff put in my baby's eyes, and I don't want my baby to get shots right away after she's born, and I don't want all of these things, and I don't want an epidural, and don't ask me this, and don't ask me that. And I didn't have any backup plans. I did not assume that anything could go wrong. I was not even prepared for that. It never crossed my mind that I could have a C-section. It never crossed my mind that things weren't going to go exactly the way I planned them. And when you're getting ready to give birth, you need to understand that birth can be unpredictable. While we all have these plans, we don't know how it's going to go. You could have a home birth at home with a midwife and end up needing to be in the hospital because something can go wrong. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say that rather to help you to understand that having a birth plan and thinking that everything is going to go exactly the way you plan it is not always the case, and that's okay. Birth is unpredictable. You can't predict what a baby is going to do. You cannot predict how the birth is going to go, and it's okay to have a birth plan, but you should also have backup plans for these plans. And that is one of the things that I wish that I had realized earlier, because if I did, I wouldn't have felt so bad about feeling like I failed because I didn't give birth vaginally. I felt like a complete failure because I had gone 11 hours with no medication and gone throughout my entire labor and pushed for 30 minutes and still didn't have my baby vaginally. I had to have a C-section, and that made me feel like I failed. It wasn't a failure. It was not a failure. And that is something that I had to realize. But if I had known or even thought about the fact that birth can be unpredictable and it just doesn't always go as planned, maybe my expectations would have been different. And I wouldn't have spent years going back over things in my mind and trying to figure out how I could have done something differently and how things could have turned out differently. It is what it is. Birth is what it is. Number 3, be your own advocate. Throughout my birthing process, I just kind of went with the flow. When the nurse came in, if she said something, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I had no no real voice throughout what was happening. When the doctor came in and said you need to have a C-section, I just went with it because I did not know any better. I did not know that I had options. I did not even know to ask if I had any other options. What I want you to know is that when you are in a hospital room, or if you are in a birthing center, or even if you are at home, when you are giving birth, you have options. You can ask questions. You can speak up for yourself. If something feels uncomfortable, you can say something. You have that ability. And if you don't feel like you can do that and you need someone else to speak for you, then hire a doula or talk to your partner and tell them that you need someone to do that. But saying something is okay. I didn't know that. I didn't say anything. But I wanted to share that with you so that you find your voice and feel comfortable and you speak up for yourself. Think about Serena Williams, who gave birth to her child, and after she gave birth, things went south, and she spoke up for herself. She said, you know what? This is not working. I have this disorder. You guys need to listen to me because this is what you need to do. And ultimately, her being her own advocate is what saved her life. So you, as a birthing person, need to make sure that you are your own advocate, or that you have someone to advocate for you, because sometimes when you don't say something, the doctors will just do whatever it is that they feel is necessary, and they won't think that they did anything wrong. If you don't like all of those cervical checks, you can speak up for yourself. You can ask questions. Say, hey, do you have to do that? Or, maybe get your partner to say, hey, do you have to do that? Or that makes her feel uncomfortable. Could we wait a little bit? But feel free to speak up for yourself. Find your voice. Number 4, trust your gut. Throughout my birthing process, I felt like something was off, something wasn't right. I felt really tired. I did not feel like I could continue to go on. I remember telling my mom, I'm too tired to push. I'm not going to be able to push this baby out. I don't think I can do this. And ultimately, I wasn't able to do it. I just felt like something wasn't right. And I was right. There was a lot of things going on throughout this process. And so trusting yourself and knowing that maybe something isn't right, knowing that something is off, can potentially save your life. If you feel like you are feeling weak, or you're bleeding, or maybe you feel like your temperature is too high, whatever it is, trust your instincts. Again, be your own advocate and speak up for yourself, because it can be life or death, but it can also be something that just helps you feel more comfortable. So trust your gut. If you feel like something's off, ask questions, say something. And number 5, don't rush labor. When I went in to give birth to my daughter, the night before she was born, I was induced. She was 2 days overdue, and she wasn't moving as much. So they had decided the week before that if she wasn't coming on her due date, that they were going to go ahead and induce me. When I got there, I was already in labor, but they still continued with the induction. I hear birthing persons, or those people that are carrying babies, say all the time, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go into labor. What can I do to get my baby out? My answer is always the same. Let your baby come when they come. Let them come when they decide to come. Unless there is a medical reason like preeclampsia, or maybe your baby's not moving, hasn't moved all day, and they're not doing very well during the stress test. Unless there's a medical reason, do not rush your baby. Your baby will come. I know it's uncomfortable. I know what that feels like. I know. You want to rush the baby because you want to be done. But when we start inducing people, and when things start to happen where you are trying to rush your baby, you take castor oil, or you do something that you don't really need to do, in this case taking castor oil, you can cause the baby to have what's called meconium, because they take their first poop inside of the womb, and that can be very dangerous. So don't do these things. People will tell you, eat the blooming onion, do this, do that, don't do that stuff. You don't have to do that stuff. There are natural ways that you can try to induce your labor if you need to, such as walking, having sex, nipple stimulation. Those things are okay. But don't drink castor oil. Don't do it. Just let the baby come. Do not rush your baby. Your baby will come when your baby is ready. So please, please don't rush the baby. Those are my top 5 things that I wish I would have known when giving birth, and I hope that they are able to help someone. Again, birth can be beautiful, birth can be unpredictable, and you just take whatever whatever you get as far as how your baby decides to come. If your baby decides to come early, not too much you can do about it. If your baby is late, not too much you can do about it. Babies make their entrances when they decide that they're ready to come. Let them come. Thank you so much for watching my video. See you next time. Bye.